Thank you, Jane. That was beautiful. And I'd like us all to know that all of the music that Jane plays this morning is composed by women, by females, since it's our sermon today is empowering women. And so all of the music has been selected to echo that. Hello, and welcome to our service. We are the Rogue Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or RVUUF, in Ashland, Oregon. My name is Francie Parr, and I'm a part of the RVUUF community because I value and resonate to the 8 principles that are hanging on the wall up there, the 7 that are there now. And I encourage you to take time to review those or see them for the first time. They're very powerful, and they engineer our Sundays and our livelihoods here at RVUUF. And today, I value the principle that is the third from the left, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation. For it's that principle and in that spirit, I find the courage to dress up in costumes and expose my limited thespian attributes. We are so happy to welcome you to our service today, both online and in person. We want to especially thank the members of the stream team who are helping make the online service happen, and the members of the neighborhood team who welcome the on-site congregation and provide snacks. If you're a newcomer, we invite you to sign up for our mailing list on RVUUF.org. You will receive a weekly email that gives you all the information you need to make your decision about whether you'd like to join us on Sunday morning on site or online. You will also learn about other great things going on at RVUUF. We are so glad to have you with us for this service, and we invite you to join us in our mission, embracing diversity, empowering connection, and engaging in the work. Now, I've been asked to share an announcement about the fundraising activities at RVUUF. So, ears up. As some of you may have seen in News to Note, our fundraising activities are coming right along. Today is the day we get started on coming up with events, services, and items that we all can offer and participate together in for fun, educational, and entertaining experiences throughout the next few months. There is a colorful form being handed out today in the lobby that everyone needs to fill out to tell the fundraising team about your offer for our big event on March 23rd. Information, including a list of suggested activities and a blank form to use for more offers, will also be emailed to you. The actual signups for the events will be on March 23rd. So stay tuned and look for further information about Fun at RVUUF. We expect this to be a wonderful experience for everyone. We begin each service by acknowledging that our building is built on the land that began as the home of the Cow Creek, Umpqua, Takelma, Shasta, and Lagawa peoples. We remind ourselves that Indigenous people are part of our communities and continue to experience the effects of colonization. We are committed to fighting for the worth and the dignity of Indigenous people both in our community and around the world. These services are part of that work. Welcome, and thank you for being with us. On the first Sunday of every month, we collect donations of food and financial gifts for the Ashland Community Food Bank. The food bank has been a part of our community for over 40 years, providing food to those in need. The need continues to grow, so we invite you to come forward with your gifts at this time, knowing your generosity makes a real difference in our community.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Merrick Milligan, and it is my pleasure to add my welcome to Frances.
Turn up the mic, please.
Is that better? Okay. My name is Merrick Milligan, and it is my pleasure to add my welcome to Frances. I'm glad you've made time to be here with us. I'd also like to extend thanks to Zoe, Janet, and the choir for helping lead our songs today, while our director of music, Julie Crooks, is out. As so many women do every day, sometimes we are forced to choose between job responsibilities and family. Julie is off today to attend her daughter's baby shower. Her first grandbaby, a boy, is due in March. We light our chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, with words by Matilda Jocelyn Gage. The women of today are the thoughts of their mothers and grandmothers, embodied and made alive. They are active, capable, determined, and bound to win. They have 1,000 generations back of them. Millions of women, dead and gone, are speaking through us today.
Good morning. Our first hymn this morning is number 212 in the gray hymnal. We are dancing Sarah's Circle, and we are going to sing verses 1, 2, and 4. Thank you. Rise in body or spirit.
We are dancing Sarah's circle. morning. I'm Suzanne Anderson, and I'm a member of the anti-racism team. And we light this candle each week in a way to create space here at RVUUF to honor and recognize the importance of calling out injustices as we see them. Today, I'm calling out sexism and racism. Friday, it was announced that the government was canceling Pride celebrations, Black History Month, which began yesterday, MLK Day, Juneteenth, Women's Empowerment Day, National American Indian Heritage Month, and Holocaust Remembrance Day, just to mention a few. Wow, I never thought I would ever be saying those words. We believe in the seven principles. They've been mentioned already today, and we are very dedicated to the work and our pride in trying to follow them. Now we must act. I want to explain the story of my upbringing and how it brought me to involve myself in the anti-racism team. When I was growing up, my mother was the president of the League of Women Voters and a civil rights activist in the early 60s. For many years, she worked alongside with the Black Coalition in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She felt the courage and the conviction to speak out against what she saw as hate, prejudice, and injustice. My mother's activism affected me deeply. I was so proud of her, but her activism ultimately broke up my family, who could not abide by her civil rights work. I was raised in a family who was otherwise had very good values. I know these conversations are difficult with families and friends and neighbors. And I know this because I have a divided family up to this day. Well, now you know a little of my story. I invite you to be a part of this conversation. Share your history. Join us in being part of the solution, speaking truth to power.
It is our practice each time we gather to light a candle for peace. We take this moment to call to mind our commitment to peace of mind, peace in our homes, peace in our communities, and peace in the world. Today's words are from Isabel Allende. I can promise you that women working together, linked, informed, and educated, can bring peace and prosperity to this forsaken planet.
Now is the time where we get to share a story. So I invite you to come down and take a closer look. I'm sharing one of my favorite stories. This is called The Paper Bag Princess, and it was written in 1980, and over the last 45 years, it has been banned from several school districts because it does not portray traditional gender roles, and so it's one of my favorites. The Paper Bag Princess by Robert Munch. And he wrote this for his daughter, who was his princess, and her name was Elizabeth. Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald. Oh, I'll wait. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Here, yeah. Are you ready? Are you good? Okay. All right. Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle, burned up all her clothes with his fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back. She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that was not burnt was a paper bag. So she put on the paper bag and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a trail of burnt forest and horse's bones behind. Finally, Elizabeth came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged on the door. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Well, a princess. I love to eat princesses, but I've already eaten a whole castle today. I'm very busy. I'm a very, very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught. Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon stuck his nose out and said, "Go away. I love to eat princesses, but I've already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." "Wait," shouted Elizabeth. "Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the world?" Well, the dragon, of course, says, "Yes." "Is it true," says Elizabeth, "that you can burn up to 10 forests with one fiery breath?" "Oh, yes," said the dragon, and he took a huge deep breath, and he breathed out so much fire that he burnt up to 50 forests. "Fantastic," said Elizabeth, and the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burned up 100 forests. "Magnificent," said Elizabeth, and the dragon took another huge breath, but this time, nothing came out. The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds?" "Why, yes," said the dragon, and jumped up and flew all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic, do it again." So the dragon jumped up and flew around the whole world in just 20 seconds. When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he laid down and he went into a deep sleep. Elizabeth whispered very softly, "Hey, dragon." The dragon didn't move. So she lifted up the dragon's ear and put her whole head right inside and said, "Hey, dragon." The dragon was so tired, he didn't even move. Elizabeth walked right over the dragon and opened the door to the cave. There was Prince Ronald. Ronald looked at her and he said, "Elizabeth, you are a mess. You smell like ashes, your hair is all tangled, and you're wearing a dirty paper bag. Ugh. Go away, come back when you're dressed like a real princess." Elizabeth said, "Ronald, your clothes are very pretty and your hair is very neat and you look like a prince, but you are a bum." They didn't get married, and Elizabeth lived happily ever after.
Stepping up way higher than I need to be. In recognition of powerful women, today's reading will be given by Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. While not a traditional feminist, Queen Elizabeth has been described as sneakily feminist. During World War II, she volunteered as a truck driver and mechanic, making her the first female member of the royal family to serve in the military. When she married her husband, she refused to take Prince Philip's surname, ensuring that her family name of Windsor would continue to be the name of the royal household. And during her reign, she changed the laws of succession to allow both sons and daughters to have equal rights to the throne. The speech she will be sharing was given by the current queen at an event for WOW, or Women of the World. Let's transport ourselves to that day at Buckingham Palace. You are the audience to whom the Queen is speaking. Please join me in welcoming Queen Elizabeth to the pulpit.
Ladies, and a few gentlemen. As the proud president of WOW, I am delighted to welcome you to Buckingham Palace to mark International Women's Day. I would like to begin with a show and tell. I have here 2 stones that, on 27th May 1914, were thrown at the palace during a suffragette protest. The label on this one reads, "If a constitutional deputation is refused, we must present a stone message." This one says, "Constitutional methods being ignored drive us to window smashing." The Times reported 2 days afterwards, and I quote, "Between 11 and 12 o'clock on Wednesday, 2 women succeeded in evading the sentries at Buckingham Palace and entered the quadrangle. They threw the stones at the windows and broke 2 panes of glass before the sentries intervened. The women were taken to the police station in the precincts of the palace, but the master of the household refused to prosecute, and they were released. These stones were picked up and handed to Queen Mary, who decided to keep them for posterity. I thought we might today, to quote Shakespeare, find sermons in these stones. Now, please don't think for a moment that I'm encouraging any of you to evade sentries or throw stones or do anything unconstitutional. Not least because I'm not quite sure what the master of the household today would react, or how he would react. But while the more destructive steps taken by the suffragettes could not be condoned today, I wanted to show you these stones because of what they represent. In 1914, I believe, they represented hope to the women who threw them. Hope that in the future they would not be victims of their history, nor of the social and economic forces that were waged against gender equality. Above all, they represented the hope that it was possible, as Christabel Pankhurst said, to make this world a better place for women. Today, 110 years later, you have been invited to Buckingham Palace because you too represent hope for women in the present and in the future. Your achievements and your courage are great causes for celebration. As I have followed the progress of the WOW buses across this great country, I have been enormously impressed to hear of the mentorship that has been offered, the panel discussions that have challenged and strengthened those present, and the partnerships that have been forged with organizations that are year-round doing incredible work with young people like yourselves. So I want to say quite simply, well done, and thank you. And as we look to the future, let us recall these words of Christabel Pankhurst. Remember the dignity of your womanhood. Do not appeal, do not beg, do not grovel. Take courage, join hands, and beside us, fight with us. To which I would only add, let your lives be the stones that will shatter glass ceilings everywhere and inspire generations to come.
Welcome back from Buckingham Palace, everyone. Just as the Queen's speech was an inspiration to the women at that event, we now have 3 women from RVUUF who will share stories from their own lives to inspire all of us here today. First, I'd like to introduce you to Molly Butler, who will share about womanhood from the perspective of a mother.
Good morning. Good morning. Feeling so inspired by the Queen. My name is Molly Baker, and I've been coming to RVUUF for about a year. I'm a mother to Ruthie, who's 3 years old, and little Robin, who's just 5 months old. I just want to say, I've jotted down some notes on motherhood, but to preface this, I wrote these down while nursing the baby at 3 a.m., so they might not make much sense. All right. So the first thought that comes to mind about motherhood is that it's complex. The pride and gratitude I have for wearing the title of mother sits right next to the resentment and frustration that it sometimes feels like my only title. The beauty and awe of my body creating and growing a human is humbled by the months of physical and mental healing from the labor and deliveries. The daily roller coaster of emotions has me question how women have done this for centuries with apparent ease and grace. So here's a snippet of my life this week to demonstrate the complexities of motherhood. On Monday, we went to the library. Libraries are great. Flipping through books is great for pre-literacy skills. We learn about the responsibility of borrowing and taking care of a shared item in our community. Practice problem-solving skills by utilizing resources like librarians and the computer systems. Plus, Ruth usually sees friends there, so it's great for social emotional development. Above all, it gets us out of the house. Ruth asked to pick out some books. I want to honor her autonomy and independence, so sure. We get home and start reading. Cinderella is the first book of choice. That portrayal of womanhood is a little more outdated than I remembered. The next one is Sleeping Beauty. Not much better. Luckily, Ruth is mostly just transfixed with the outfits and doesn't seem to be following the story as much. The next one is an unnamed princess with a pink sparkly dress. We have a theme here. 8 books later, and the guilt is starting to set in. These aren't the messages about womanhood and femininity that I'd like her to receive. Is this why she will only wear dresses right now? Why she's adopted a stark system of labeling everything as boy and girl despite our best efforts? Am I inadvertently fueling the social construct of a binary system? But wouldn't that stifle her creative expression if I suggest she wears something other than pink sparkly dresses? Am I being too anxious? Is there a hereditary component to anxiety that I probably passed on to her? If I passed it on to her, I probably passed it on to Robin too. Wait, is it time for him to nurse? When did I drink water last? Do my thought processes usually have this type of spiraling cadence, or is this because I just read If You Give a Mouse a Cookie? Wait, what were the last 2 books I just read? I shut off my thinking brain and proceeded to read an out-of-season book about a bear on Halloween 3 times in a row because Ruth likes the illustrations. Robin is nursing and content. I'm dehydrated. I look around at the messy space and feel the stress starting to creep in. Ruth gives me a kiss and makes Robin giggle by singing a silly song she made up for him. Then she asks if she can change into a princess dress. Motherhood is complex, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. I certainly don't believe you are any less of a woman for choosing not to be a mother. But these feelings are common and connect me to many mothers, prior, current, and future. Even in the loneliest of moments, there's an intense feeling of empowerment, knowing I can relate to someone in an entirely different culture, speaking a different language, halfway across the world, just based on the shared experience of pregnancy, labor, delivery, and motherhood. There are probably even women right in this very moment that are also experiencing a chaotic inner dialogue riddled with gratitude, guilt, elation, despair, and every emotion in between. For me, motherhood is a welcomed adventure, and I'm just trying my best. Keeping kids alive and healthy is a surprisingly hard task. Shaping them into thoughtful, responsible, empathetic members of society is even harder. It can't be done alone, and it shouldn't be done alone. So thank you to the story reader today, wherever you are, for choosing an excellent book. And if anyone else has any good children's book recommendations with strong and dynamic female protagonists, preferably with fun and sparkly outfits, please let me know. It takes a village.
Thank you so much, Molly, for sharing that. Next, we will have Kathy Travis, who will talk to us about sisterhood.
So first, a definition. What is sisterhood? Sisterhood is a group of women who support, inspire, and motivate each other. They are there for you in good times and bad. They are your cheerleaders and sounding board, offering advice and sometimes mentorship as well. I was lucky to be a part of several sisterhoods in my formative years, and I'm going to tell you about 3 of them. My first real one-on-one sense of sisterhood came when I attended an all-women's college, one of a network of what were then appropriately called sister schools, the seven sister schools. The camaraderie, respect, and solidarity of my college sisters gave me a very strong sense of self and of belonging. We debated the issues of the day, we smoked pot and partied, we shared information like where to get birth control pills, we listened to the Beatles and other music together in our dorm rooms. And some of us, including me, went to the march in Washington in 1969 to protest the Vietnam War. And that summer, one of my college buddies and I went to the Woodstock Music Festival. The crowning glory was Gloria, as in Gloria Steinem, who was the speaker at our commencement, where most of us wore peace symbols on our graduation hats. So in high school, I had a best friend, but in college, I truly had a sisterhood. And then there was my law sisterhood. I entered law school in 1978, 8 years after graduating college, as one of a wave of women who decided to go to graduate school many years after finishing college. Upon graduation, finding legal jobs in a very male-dominated profession was very difficult, a lot more difficult than many of us had envisioned it would be. A number of us got together to share stories with each other about the challenges and disappointments that we were facing in the job market, how to avoid feeling that we were somehow not worthy, and how to respond to the loaded questions that were made by what were almost always male interviewers who asked us, "Are you married? Are you planning to get married? And do you have children? Or are you planning to have children? And how that might work given the rigors of a legal profession." Well, sometimes we laughed together about questions like these, and other times it really was helpful to share our frustration, our fears about getting a job. But we managed to empower our way through it together. I finally got a job as a judicial law clerk at the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Portland, serving 2 male judges who luckily were more interested in my honors in legal writing and research than they were in digging into my private life. By being a courtroom clerk, I had a front row seat watching Liz Paris, an incredible woman attorney, as a former law clerk herself and then as a practitioner and then judge. She was clearly much beloved and respected by other attorneys, judges, and also importantly, court personnel who were almost all women. I, as well as a few other women attorneys who practice in this area of the law, were beneficiaries of her support, encouragement, and mentorship. If Judge Paris was putting together a panel of speakers, you can be sure that there was going to be one woman attorney at least as part of the panel. And if she was not putting together that panel and someone else was, she'd contact them and urge them to include one of us. She initiated and got us involved in the pro bono bankruptcy clinic, and she submitted recommendations of a number of us, and me included, to be approved as arbitrators of the American Arbitration Association. Her impact on me and other women attorneys inspired us all to pay it forward, to make sure her leadership in centering and lifting us up as women attorneys was passed on to the next generation of women attorneys. My second sisterhood, our third sisterhood, gay sisterhood. Another important sisterhood in my life that preceded my lawyer years involved my gender identity as lesbian. When I came out in the mid-1970s, I decided to move back to my birthplace of New York City, where there was a strong gay community. At that time, the way women like me found connection with other gay women was through what I like to call the WB&Bs, women's bookstores, and women's bars. In women's bars, we found the community and friendship many of us sought. We learned together how to feel comfortable living in our true gender identities. And some of the stories we shared with each other were about lack of acceptance from our families, or about the jobs our straight friends lost when we came out or were found out. But in the bar, we could also laugh, dance, play pool, and maybe find love. We were welcome and safe there. If you were not in a relationship but wanted to be, you could always count on your gay sisters. They're on the alert. They would make suggestions. That's the position I found myself in 1986, after a relationship breakup. A friend of mine said, "I have the perfect girl for you, Lila Raffle." Now I knew that name because 7 months earlier, I had met Lila at the only women's bar in Portland. But she was in a relationship then. According to my friend, though, not anymore. So I called her. It's working out well, 38 years and counting. I want to say one more thing about gay sisterhood, and that is how proud I was that our sisterhood connected with, cared for, our gay brotherhood during the AIDS epidemic. This coming together created a breakthrough in the relationship between both our communities. And given what we are all facing right now, as rights have been and are being taken away from trans people, gays, immigrants, the rights of women as well are in jeopardy. Obviously, everything that's been mentioned before, but minorities, et cetera. With DEI, environmental and progressive policies on the cutting block or chopping block, we will surely need to support and come together as a community, inclusive of all of us. That's it.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I'd now like to introduce you to my mom, Teddy Milligan, who will talk to us about navigating the world as a woman. Her story contains a personal account of child sexual abuse and religious abuse that may be distressing for some participants. We recognize the sensitive nature of this topic and encourage you to care for your well-being as needed, as she will be caring for hers. If you need to step away or seek support, please do.
Good morning. My name is Teddy Milligan, known to many of you as Merrick's mom. When Merrick asked me to speak about navigating the world as a woman, I was hesitant. I thought about the fact that discrimination against women is common, and the everyday obstacles women face may seem small when compared to the extreme challenges faced by marginalized persons everywhere. But it's not about whose life is the hardest. The point is that when our experiences with slights and discrimination are normalized, it's time to speak out and claim our right to all this world has to offer. I will start with an experience which I would not talk about except that it had a profound effect upon my life. I want you to be aware that I'm going to talk about sexual assault. I promise I will not go into any detail whatsoever, but thought some of you may need to know about this ahead of time. I grew up in a very strict religion where females were taught and indeed forced to be subservient to men. When I was 7 years old, I was sexually molested by a much older male relative. This went on for a period of months. I did not tell anyone until years later when my younger sister was in danger of being exposed to this relative. My parents didn't believe me at first. I was determined not to have my sister be hurt by this man. Eventually, my parents did accept that what I was saying was true. I was sent to a religious leader for counseling. I told him everything that had occurred. His response was to have me immediately get down on my knees and pray that I might be forgiven for the sin of allowing this to happen to me. I know that boys suffer this horror as well, but teachings in the religion I was brought up in make the experience especially horrible for girls. I remember very clearly a special session for girls led by a man high in the hierarchy, where we were taught that we are like flower buds in a garden. We were warned that if a flower bud is open before its time, the flower is ruined and cannot be repaired. We were told that it's our responsibility to keep ourselves from being ruined. I do not believe that boys received a similar message. Moving on. I know, and my achievements verify, that I'm an intelligent person. However, when I did well in school, my parents worried that I was too smart and would never be able to get a husband unless I hid that intelligence. I'm happy to say that I did get married. My husband appreciates my intelligence, and we will be happily celebrating our 54th wedding anniversary later this year. I was told that I could not go to college since all I needed was a skill such as typing to fall back on. But in case something happened to my husband. It took me many years to get there, but at the age of 39, I received my bachelor's degree with distinction in philosophy and was admitted to Phi Beta Kappa. I went on to law school at the University of Washington. In spite of doing well in law school, there were fellow students who assumed that I got in because my husband was on staff at the school. This was particularly jarring because I had been on staff at the university for several years longer than my husband. I graduated, was admitted to the bar, and had a successful career representing survivors of domestic violence and providing legal aid to persons experiencing poverty. I eventually went on to lead one of the country's largest volunteer legal organizations in Seattle, Washington. Even then, I continually ran up against being treated as less than because I am a woman. I remember one particular time where I was the only woman in a meeting of directors of legal aid. We were meeting with a government official regarding important funding issues. The government official started the meeting by laying out figures which were completely wrong. I raised my hand and pointed this out. I was told that I was wrong and must not understand how it worked. Unfortunately, that shut me up for the rest of the meeting. After the meeting, I asked my colleagues why none of them spoke up for me. They looked at each other in confusion until one of them finally said, "Oh, we didn't realize you said anything." The government official later sent out corrected numbers, but did not apologize. There are far too many bumps or roadblocks women face in navigating life to mention them all. Just a couple that irritate me. The Miss, Mrs., or Ms. title. Men have only to use Mr., but women are expected to give a hint about their relationship status merely to be identified. And then there are many issues around women's clothing. Back in the 70s, skirts were quite short. As a consequence, one was hard-pressed to maintain any semblance of modesty when bending down to the bottom file cabinet drawer. It took a one-day work strike for the company I worked for to finally give women the privilege of wearing pants to work. Then, 20 years later, I had a court case in rural southeastern Washington. There, outside the courtroom, was posted an attorney dress code. It said, men, professional wear, women, skirt suits or dresses with a blazer. Really? So many times in life, I've been told no. No, you can't be smart. No, you can't go to college. No, you can't wear pants or be a leader. I'm proud to be part of the sisterhood who, time after time of being told no, simply went ahead and did it anyway.
Thank you so much to all three of you for sharing your experiences. And Mom, for so bravely sharing your story of assault. If my mother's story has brought anything up for anyone, both Francie and I will be available after the service to listen. You can also reach out to both Reverend Sean or Eli if you need help. Each week, we take an offering to support the mission and the work of our congregation. Your financial support is how we fund the programs, services, outreach, and staffing of our congregation. Your giving is immediately put to work, putting our principles and our mission to work within the congregation and beyond. Your generosity allows us to do more to make the world more just and compassionate. If you're joining us online, you will see instructions on how to give on the screen. If you're here in the Great Hall, you can put your gift in the offering basket or use your phone to scan the QR code on the back of your order of service to give electronically. If you need support, please contact Reverend Sean using the form on roof.org. We will do our best to help. And all the gifts you bring to our community and into this world. Thank you.
Our closing hymn is number 1026 in the teal hymnal, If Every Woman in the World. And this time I'm remembering, please join us, rise in body or spirit. Thank you.
If
I'd like to close the service with words that are a little bit longer than usual, but they really fit. They're from Judith Butler, a feminist philosopher and gender studies scholar, about the question, what does it mean to be a woman? The way feminism began was by calling into question received notions of what a woman is, right? They tell you you belong in the household. They tell you you're good for reproduction. They tell you you're not able to do that kind of work. You can't engage in sports. You can't be a public speaker. You certainly can't be a politician. You can't be an intellectual, or if you are, you're never going to be quite as good. So what has feminism been about? It's been about contesting received ideas of what a woman is. Why did we start women's studies, feminist studies, gender studies? Well, we did because we wanted to call into question these presuppositions that have been taken for granted for too long. So we asked the question, what is it to be a woman? Or what does it mean to be a woman? Simone de Beauvoir, one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. Really? It's not the biological function that makes you a woman? No, it's not the biological function. It's actually nothing specific about the biology that alone defines you as a woman. It's part of the picture, but how you live that, the way you deal with that, is a question of history. It's a question of freedom. It's how you negotiate your situation, which is an historically complicated one, where there are established norms and roles. So feminism has always kept the question open, what is a woman, and refused to answer it. Refused to answer it on principle. Because we don't know all the things women can be and do, and we're not about to say in advance, this is who you are, stay within your limits, stay within this category. We've decided this is what a woman is and you have to live here. No, we don't do that. We're a freedom struggle.